What if I told you that following conventional wisdom about down payments could cost you over $100,000 in lost wealth? That's not a hypothetical. That's what I see happening to families every single month. I am Ron Siegel, certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Let me tell you about a couple that I worked with last year. They'd been saving for 3 years trying to get to that 20% down payment number. They started when they needed about $140,000 saved up for the home they wanted. By the time they'd saved $120,000, that same home now cost $150,000 more. They needed $170,000 down. They were running backward on a treadmill, and every month of rent was money they'd never see again. So let's talk about where this 20% rule came from and why it's keeping good people out of home ownership. For decades, 20% down was considered the gold standard. It helped buyers avoid something called private mortgage insurance, or PMI. Over time, that guideline turned into something people think is a requirement. It is not. Here's what most people don't realize. The majority of homeowners today put far less down than 20%. You qualify with as little as 3% down on conventional loans, about $21,000. FHA loans allow 3.5% down, around $24,500, and offer more flexibility with credit scores. Down payment assistance on those costs less than a MacBook Pro. Think about that. And FHA offers more flexibility with credit scores. If you're a veteran, VA loans offer zero down. That's zero, not a nit, zilch, nothing. Yes, zero is a real number. And USDA loans in certain areas also offer zero down options. But here's the part that really matters, what I would call opportunity cost. While you're waiting to save that full amount, several things are happening. Home prices are rising, rents are increasing, interest rates are changing. Your buying power is shrinking. When we actually run the numbers for families, they're often surprised. The cost of waiting can exceed the cost of PMI by a significant margin. Now, let's talk honestly about PMI, because I know that's what people worry about. First, PMI is not permanent. Once you build enough equity in your home, it can be removed. Second, and this is most important, PMI costs are highly dependent on your credit score. A stronger credit score can dramatically reduce your private mortgage insurance payment. This is where many buyers focus on the wrong thing. Instead of spending years saving for a bigger down payment, improving your credit score can lower your interest rate, reduce PMI significantly, and improve your overall affordability. In many cases, that strategy wins on the math alone. Let me share another example. I had a client who spent 2 years trying to save their way to 20% down. During those 2 years, their rent went up $250 a month. That's $6,000 in rent increases over that time. The home they wanted appreciated $120,000. When we finally sat down and looked at buying with 5% down, about $35,000, even with PMI, their monthly payment would have been lower than what they were paying in rent 2 years earlier. They missed out on $120,000 in appreciation and paid $6,000 in extra rent increases, all to avoid a PMI payment that would have been about $180 a month. Does that math make sense? No, it does not. Now, I'm not saying putting 20% down is wrong. If you have $140,000 sitting there and it fits comfortable within your financial picture, it can lower your monthly payment, reduce interest paid over time, and eliminate PMI from day one. The key word there is choice. The problem isn't putting 20% down. The problem is thinking it's the only responsible option. Here's the better question to ask. Instead of, do I have 20% down? Ask, what down payment option makes sense for my credit, my income, and my timeline? For many families, getting into a home sooner without draining your savings and while keeping some financial flexibility creates better long-term outcomes than waiting for some perfect number. Think about it this way. Waiting to buy a home because you think you must have 20% down is like waiting to drive until you can afford a Ferrari. Nice goal. Totally unnecessary. What matters is getting the right strategy for your situation. That means understanding your real options, running real numbers, and weighing trade-offs honestly. This is exactly what we help families figure out. What's suitable for you based on your credit, your income, your timeline, your goals, because strategy beats rate always. If you're thinking about buying a home, but you're not sure where you stand or what makes sense for your situation, let's talk about getting your financial house in order first. Visit rsrlinks.com/keysteps. rsrlinks.com/keysteps. That's and we'll help you understand exactly what you need to know before you start looking, because clarity beats myths every single time. How does this work for you? The hook is very simple. Go and just get started. Again, you got the rent versus own option, rsrlinks.com/RVO, and that is the Borrow Smart segment. I'm Ron Siegel, your certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. That's Borrow Smart, brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com. GetHomeSelect.com. Thanks for listening.